friends, my name is Megan and welcome to my 13th Flosstube episode. I hope everybody has been well. It's been a little while since I've been here. I didn't realize it had been like a month and a half until yesterday, and I was like, oh man, it's the 14th already and I haven't done a Flosstube. My basket was getting all full and I was like, I gotta do this. So I got up early today and I did all my chores. All that's left is the laundry, which you may be able to hear the washing machine or the dryer in the background, but I just gotta get done. And I got myself set up and ready to go. It's been a busy month and a half. My little baby turned 15, which is absolutely unbelievable. I still am like, no, no, no thank you. And he started soccer again. He's played indoor soccer for many years, and last weekend was his first game of the year, and it's so crazy to see the difference in the boys in this age group, because some, like Quentin's 5'10", and some of the boys are like his size, and some of the boys are like half of that size, and it's just like, oh, my heart stopped a couple times during that game. But he's been good. You know, actually that's why I'm back upstairs again today, because he is downstairs and he's got control of the living room right now. He's playing some games with his friends, so Aaron's been good. Kind of status quo with him. He's out working at a friend's house right now, and I'm pretty regular. I don't think anything of real note has happened. Just slugging through the winter. The weather has been bizarre. It's been incredibly mild. A lot of days in like the 50s and even up into the 60s. I've got daffodils trying to come up, and new leaves on my rose bushes. And then today it's like 30, so absolutely bizarre weather this winter. No snow, really. I think we had flurries a couple of days, but no real snow. And we usually get, not a lot, but at least some. So I don't know, but enough of all that. Like I said, I've got a lot to show you. I've got two giant piles right here. I've got finishes and new starts and whips and all kinds of stuff over here. I've got a bunch of stuff that came in the mail, or things that I got from my stitching group, and I've got a little giveaway for the end of the episode. So I guess we should just get right into it. When last we spoke, I was working on heartstring samplery. It must have been the roses. I'm sorry. It must have been the mistletoe. I was thinking of another pattern. That's what it's meant to look like. I'm going to try very hard to keep organized. I think I have a new system set up so I don't have a giant mess at the end of this. I stitched it. It only calls to be stitched in one color. I stitched it in two, a Valdani Deep Forest Green and a Victoria Motto Sampler Shop Plum Pudding. Just like this. And I stitched it 1/2 on 36 count sea salt by Color and Cotton, one of the fabrics of the month. And I finished it, and here it is. Things are just gonna be blown out today because of the lighting, but that's okay. Hopefully you can see that all right. Bring it in a little bit. Last time. I love the colors. I love doing all of the different borders, except that one. Love stitching letters and words and alphabets, so this ticked all of my boxes, and I absolutely love it. So I mentioned briefly, I think in my last video, that I joined the What Whip group on Facebook, and I've got a great group of ladies that I talk back and forth with throughout the month. We're group 22, I believe. And so that really inspired me to pull out some of my order whips and work on those. And the first one that I have worked on, I tried to put all of this mess in order, is my oldest whip, which is Arenco Originals Mother and Child Detail of the 3 Stages of Woman, inspired by Gustav Klimt's painting. And it will look like this much sooner than later, I think. I'm stitching this on 16 count white Aida with the called for DMC. And here's where I am. And this time, oof, I added in all of this right here. And I think it is stunning. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I like truly see the finish line now. So hopefully this one will get some more love soon. So the next thing was I finally got to make my New Year New Start. I think that I posted about it on like my Instagram story, that the fabric I had originally chosen for this project, it was labeled as a 35 count, but it was really a 32 count, and it was this dark natural. And I don't mind working with some pretty tight borders, but with this being a 32 count, it would only have given me an inch on each side, and that would not work for me, or I think probably most of us. I thought I would bring up to a couple of examples. I used to, like kind of back when I first got into stitching again, I would do these little waist knot projects where I would just take little scraps and stitch on them, and I didn't know what to do with them, and so Erin came up with these. So little tiny projects with no border, just between a couple pieces of wood, and they hang around my house. But so I realized that fabric wouldn't work, and I came up here and I looked in my stash and I was like, I'm sure I have something, and I had a piece of 32 count just plain white Lugana, and it had been big enough, and so I was like, alright, well then I'm going to, like, because I think I said before I didn't want like a modeled fabric for this, so I was like, alright, I'm gonna just, you know, coffee tea dye it, and just to, you know, make it not white, and I'll use that, and that's fine. So I did that, and then, but there was like 2 spots on it that just didn't take the dye, and I was like, you know, now I'm like, this is terrible. I'm not enjoying this. So I was like, okay, I don't know why that happened that way, and I'm not gonna worry about it, but I'm just gonna dye the whole thing like a light gray, because that would work too. So I took that piece of fabric that I had coffee and tea dyed, and I dyed it again in some gray Rit, and I pulled it out, and the color was beautiful, but where those 2 spots were, it still didn't take the dye properly. It was just so much lighter and you could see them, and I was like, you know what? It's okay. We'll start over. I'm gonna order another piece of fabric, which I did from 123 Stitch, and we'll take the fabric that I am messing around with now, and I'm going to do something totally different with it. So I have 2 mermaids, 2 Mirabilia mermaids, and I knew when I got them I wanted to convert them to more like, I don't want to say murkier colors, but something that would be maybe more appropriate for mermaids living in the Chesapeake Bay, because they would not be those bright colors, let me tell you what. So I took that fabric and I dyed it and over-dyed it and messed around with it, and this is actually what I ended up with, which I think turned out, it's much more blue. You guys are seeing, it's much darker. That's it. I mean, it's, you know, a big piece of fabric. So, not all was lost. Super happy with how this turned out. I think it'll be perfect for my Chesapeake Bay mermaids, and it's kind of given me the inspiration to start thinking about those projects a little bit more. But finally, my fabric came. It was perfect. I couldn't find that dark natural that I originally had. I ended up with a 36 count just raw natural linen, and that project is of course Garden Vegetables by Kathy Barrick. I love this chart. I love stitching on this piece. I love the colors, I love the letters, I love the work, I love everything about it. I would pick it up and stitch it right now if I wasn't working on some other things. So that's what it looks like. I converted most of the colors. There's a couple of DMCs still left, but this is kind of the palette I'm working with. Very pretty. And I worked on it for 2 weeks, and here is where I got. Hopefully you can see all that. Fold it. No problem with borders this time. Excuse me. So that's where I got. I love it. I love that lady. She's beautiful, especially after stitching all of that brown. The one thing I was nervous with about this pattern was making sure I didn't screw up the counting when doing the grid. That was a little nerve-wracking. But once I got that down, it actually went pretty fast. I mean, it's just a bunch of straight lines, you know. But when you get finally to the top and you get into some colors, oh, so fun. So this I love. I cannot wait to get back to, for sure. So I used to do these things that I would call like my stitching room projects, and I would always have like a little small or something up here on the go, but then I kind of stopped doing that. My space became chaotic, we'll say, and a few weekends ago, Quentin had his girlfriend over for the first time, which was something. She's very sweet. And so I wanted to stay out of their way, and so I came up here and I went through all of this, like, that's all yarn up there, I didn't go through that, but I went through all of my magazines and my books, and I organized my patterns and my kitted patterns, and down here is my fabric, and I organized my DMC. That was a whole thing. I ended up with a big box that's right there of things that will be moving on and out of here, and when I went through all my kitted projects, I realized that I had quite a few smalls that, well, you know, why am I not working on them? So I decided I'm just gonna keep a little sewing room project again, because that made me happy and it's getting some things done. I don't, you know, work on a ton of small things, so I'm like, you know, moving through them. I've got the first one that I worked on here, and somehow when I was cleaning up and cleaning out, I don't know what I did with the picture for this. I know where the pattern is, but I don't know where the picture went. It was a kit, a little homespun elegance kit, and I think it was like miniature sampler something. I don't know. It came with like a 26 count, just plain white linen, and the DMC that went with it. And so I finished it, and I knew I wanted to do something different with it, so I got some of those, is it Tim Holtz? I can't remember. They're like the antiquing sprays. So I got a pack of those, and I antiqued it, which was kind of scary, but I knew this was just a little small and it was a little experiment, so if it didn't work out, it wasn't going to be like the end of the world. But so I finished it, and I antiqued it. I think the color was called Amber, and I made it into a little needle book. Just some pretty quilting fabric and a little bit of felt. Got a button on there. And I love it. And what really inspired me to make this little needle book is that when I go to my stitching group, I have the little Evertotes bag that Caroline gave all of us at the New Jersey retreat, and that's where I keep all of my stuff. And I didn't have a good way to store my needles, so I just had like a clump of needle minders in there with like a bunch of needles stuck all over it, and I was like, this is driving me crazy. So now I have a needle book, and I love it, and I have plans to make at least one more, not of this one, I'll show it to you in a minute, to hold some more of like my bulk needles. So that is done. The next thing that I worked on was my second oldest whip, and that is Ink Circles 99. And I finished this page right here. So I only have 2 pages left to go, the last few rows. This is stitched on 28 count tea-dyed Monaco. The colorway is tea-dyed. I didn't tea-dye it myself. But, oh, here's where it is. I can and will finish this year. So I added in, I think it was this set of bottles here. Making some progress. Getting some stuff done. So I guess I worked on that until February 1st. Because February 1st, I was starting a Sal with Maddie, who is Happy Go Stitchy on Instagram. And I was very excited to start this. This was not something that I had planned on starting, but when she was showing her, what's she calling it? Dreaming of a Sampler Wall? I think that's it. Projects that she wanted to stitch on this year, I saw that she had this pattern, and I had this pattern, and I loved this pattern, and I knew I wanted to stitch it. I didn't have plans to just yet, but I was like, hey, you want to stitch it together? And she was like, yes, and I was like, yay! And that project is Hannah Carter 1838 by Shakespeare's Peddler. And so this basically calls for 2 colors, but the main color of this is black. It calls for antique black, Florimel from Floriana. But the reason I was attracted to this pattern to begin with was because the lettering, a lot of the lettering reminded me of Lucy Nolan that I did last year by Pineberry Lane, and so I kind of wanted to stitch this as a companion piece to that. So the colors that I chose for this is Victoria Motto Sampler Shop, Very Prim Teal. And so I started with that. I'm doing this 1/2 on a 32 count Jobelin that I coffee and tea dyed. But I got nervous like in the very beginning that I wouldn't have enough, so I decided to add in some 924 as well, which is just a little bit darker than the color that I'm using. And oops, here's where I got. I mean, it's not small, so it'll take up most of this on a 32 count. And the color of the fabric, I can't seem to photograph the real color. It's either too dark or too light, and the same is here. This is lighter than it is showing. As you can see, just fold it back up a little bit. So the 924 is the darker alphabet. This alphabet is done in Smyrna Cross. But I'm loving this stitching letters. You know, it's like my favorite. I love it in the blues against the browns. Again, this one was hard to put down. I finished this page when I was at my stitching group, and then I was like, you know what, I gotta put it down for a little bit. I want to keep going, but I want to try to get some other stuff done. So this one will come back out soon, and I can't wait to get back to it. The next thing I worked on was my next sewing room project. This little kit I was inspired to buy this by Candace Ludlover Stitcher. She stitched this, and I was like, this is absolutely adorable. I must find it, and I did. And that is Maggie Bean Patience by Shakespeare's Peddler. The picture is very small. Can't tell if that's focusing or not, but very small, and it came as a little kit with the silks in the pattern. Here are the silks. So this is what I have left. Like, plenty. This is more than enough to stitch this again. And I stitched it on a piece 36 count lavender from Zweigart. This was one of the little sample pieces that came in our gift bag from the New Jersey retreat. And here's mine. The other thing that I'm doing with this little project and with some of my other projects is that I'm practicing using the sewing method and stitching in hand. My stitches are still a little messier than even I would like. You know, I said I'm not like super hard on myself if all my stitches aren't perfect, but so it's not perfect, but that's okay. I really like it a lot. I love how it turned out. I'll definitely stitch this again. And I think this is what I'm going to use to make my next, my bigger needle book out of this. And I have a new sewing room project, but I can't show it because it's a gift. I've worked on a lot of stuff, I feel. I have another finish. I finished this on Thursday. And that project is As the Crow Flies by the Prairie Schooler. This one was already done, and I had been working on this one right here. I used the called for DMC, and I stitched it on a piece of 28 count Dusty Miller. And here is my finish. And I finished this one using the sewing method to do like this house. I think I had to finish this, filling this in, the berries, this tree, little odds and ends. There's a little bit of back stitch I had left to do. This fabric is like a super open weave. So I finished this and I was like, okay, let me pull out the other one because I want to see how they look together. And I realized once I did that, that I stitched this 2/2, but I had stitched the other one 3/2. So here's the smaller of the two. So this one has much better coverage, but it's not like I'm gonna go back and redo that. That's no way. So that's okay. I think they're both beautiful. I'm glad to have them done. So that brings us actually back to yesterday. So I knew what project I wanted to pull out, and I couldn't find the pattern, and then I felt dumb when I realized where the pattern was, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to pull out something else, and I pulled out the Scrub Pine Sampler by Barrack Samplers, which looks like this. And this, everything is outlined, but everything has to be filled in. So it's like a nice, you know, I don't have to think about it type of thing, but it's also like, you know, it's not like super exciting stitching or anything like that. But I pulled this out because I've got a ton of floss in this project that I would like to, you know, get back out into the rotation. I picked all my own colors for that. So, you see, there's a lot of colors in this little thing. And I am stitching it on Sampler Gold, also by Color and Cotton, 32 count. Another reason I wanted to get this done is because I have a small, like a little small that's going to go on the other side of this fabric. So I didn't get a whole lot done. I decided I would try just putting in like one full length of thread a day if I can, like all 6 strands I would like in there. So I pulled it out and I finished the grass down here, and I started on the blue in the water here at the bottom. I guess that's water. I don't know. It's up at the top too. I guess that wouldn't make a lot of sense. I worked on this blue border. How's that? So I'm gonna just plug away at this little by little and see what I can get done. And then lastly, the last thing that I worked on, which again I pulled back out last night, was the Gilded Cage, also by Barrack Samplers, which looks like this. So next to my stitching spot, I have, I can't remember if I've told you guys this before, but it's like a little table that looks like books, and like each book is a different size, like smallest to largest, and that's where I keep all of my stuff downstairs. And so the bottom drawer is where I keep the pattern, the second drawer up is where I keep like my whips. The next drawer up is where I keep like some stitching accessories, and the top drawer is for like my like magnifier glasses and like cords that go to lights and stuff like that. On the very top I've got a couple of project bags with things in it, all of the floss for mother and child, because that's in its own separate box. And I am like digging through everything, cannot find this pattern or the floss anywhere. It was in one of the project bags. I don't know why. I was like, I give up. It's gone forever. Maybe last time I filmed, I put it upstairs. Can't find it anymore. What are you gonna do? Anyways, I'm stitching this over one on 32 count Star Sapphire with some silks from Dicky Dye's Oops Pack. They're looking a little. I probably should do something with them. Fix those up a little bit. And so I got back to working on the bird. I got this, when I go through my haul over here, I got this at my monthly stitching group. And I've never had a tension hoop, and I like it an awful lot. I don't typically like things where I can't stitch two-handed, because that is still what is the most comfortable for me, and I think the fastest for me. But for something little like this is absolutely perfect. So that's where we are. That's what I'll be working on later today. I'm not doing the whole pattern because I want it to hopefully fit into this little frame. So I don't know. I wonder if I might be able to bust it out this weekend. If not this weekend, probably early next week. So that is my goal with that. And those are all of the things that I have worked on since I saw you last. Okay. I got a bunch of haul. Like, you know, after January 1st, I was like, I'm not buying anything. I canceled my Victoria Motto and my Color and Cotton floss clubs. I was like, I'm going on a break. I just cleaned out this room. I got all this stuff. But then I did buy some stuff. I've got a snugger here. So some of this was things that I ordered before my last video that hadn't come in yet, because, you know, with the Christmas holiday shops, you know, take breaks. Duh. And some of these are my other monthly things, and some of these are serendipitous things, and some of these came from my stitch group, so I guess I'll stop saying that and just show you what it is. Let's start with Dinky Dyes. My Dinky Dyes December flosses came in. Gorgeous. And my January. Oh my gosh, these are beautiful. I love these. These, I think, are my favorite ones yet. And then my last Color and Cotton came in. Was this December? No. These are the last ones for right now. Very pretty. And I did not cancel the fabric club, though. I've been in that fabric club since the beginning. I absolutely love it. I love stitching on her fabrics, as you guys well know. So I have no plans on canceling that. And this month was beautiful, as you know, they always are. This is Camelot in 36. And I have a feeling you won't be able to see this super well. It's more of like a blue-gray. Oof. That's good. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. I can't wait to figure out what I'm going to put on that. Alright. And then, like I said, some of this was ordered before Christmas, or before New Year's, my last video. I had an order in with Kitten Stitcher, Teresa, and it came with this pretty freebie. And the reason I placed the order was because when Caroline Off the Grids was doing her Vlogmas, she showed these two charts, and I had seen them before, and I was like watching this, and I was like, oh, I don't think I can't live without these. I don't know when I'm going to start them, but I was like, they're gorgeous and I had to have them. And they are Just Stitching Along's Miss Lucy Calcut 1825 and 1826. Gorgeous. I think these are stunning. They give the DMC and a Versoix silks. Just these are just beautiful. I love them. While I was at her site, I perused her stash for cash for cats and dogs. Is that what it is? I think that's what it is, or it's definitely very close to that. And I picked up a couple of things out of there. The Scarlet Letter, Solura Aldrich, I think is how you say it. 1819. Which looks like that. A very pretty sampler. It says, "While God doth spare, for death prepare." It's not huge. It says on 30 count. It'll be 10.5 by 10 and a quarter. So that's not too bad. These two, like, I don't know. I've never seen these before. They're just like weird, prim weirdness, and I like it. By Little Design Company. This is called Beastie of the Barn. Like, that's bizarre, right? Like, I don't know. It's so weird. I like it. And this one is called Black Heart. Again, just some weird little strangeness. I love it. I also picked up Cardan Antiques and Needleworks, Lydia Metcalf. And I thought this one was kind of weird too. I don't know. I dig it. That weird bird looking at that weird tree. And lastly, from her, I also got Barbara Anna Designs, The Raven Sister File. Quote, The Raven Nevermore. I might change up the colors. I don't know if I like the purple, white checkerboard, but we'll see. Very cute. So that came in from Kitten Stitcher. McKenna at 1884 Stitchery had posted that she had some Blackbird designs, and I snapped this one up, and I am over the moon about it. When Diana from It Is Kismet was stitching this, I was like, oh, you know, it's gorgeous, and you can't find it anywhere, so when McKenna had it up there, I grabbed it, and that is Garland Fair by Blackbird Designs. And I would like to start this yesterday. I like it so much. It says, would that this garland fair might weave around thy life, a spell to shield from care, a guard from every strife. Beautiful. I made one eBay purchase. I am not typically an eBay person. Like, I've tried. I'm not very good at it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not ruthless enough. But I have, you know, Primitive Needle and Black Skies saved searches, and this little kit came up, and I was like, all right, if it's within this price range, I'm going to go for it. And so I watched it, and I got to the end, and I put in my last bid, and somebody else, like, with 1 second left, ended up getting it. And I was like, oh well, you know, no big deal. And then I got an email, and it was like, you have a second chance, and the seller was like, hey, I have 2 of these, do you want the other one? And I was like, yes, please. And so she actually even gave it to me at the last bid that I put in, which was lower than what it sold for. I thought that was pretty cool. And that is Thy Needle by the Primitive Needle. It came in this little burlap sack here, and it says, here lies my needle, $16.92. And this did not come with the floss, but the floss has been ordered. But it came with the pattern, and what is this? 30 count tin roof by Weeks Dye Works. So it came with the fabric to stitch it on, which it's, I think it has more of a green hue in real life. So I've got the threads on order from Threads Entwined, and very much looking forward to starting that as well. Speaking of threads, you know I love my stash unloading. and I made a few purchases off of there. Somebody was selling like 29 XG Design flosses, and I love her flosses, and the price was ridiculous, like $1, maybe a little bit more than $1 a piece. So I snatched that up. And there's some duplicates in here. And there's like some of the little like gift ones that you get, but like there's 3 of this beautiful white, and there's a couple of this red color here, and I am totally okay with that. Because that, you know, that's the thing, it's like if you get these beautiful threads, or like even the color in cotton, it's like, well, I have enough. So I snapped those up. And also from Stash Unloading, I picked up 2 Good Housewife charts. This one, the first one is called The Primitive Bird. Cute. I wasn't gonna get this. I wasn't gonna try to get this. I just kept thinking about it. I went back and nobody me pleased it yet, and so I was like, all right, I like that bird. And then also In Her Garden, which is gorgeous. So then, well, probably not then, I don't know, sometime in the recent past, what am I saying to you? Sorry. I was perusing Facebook Marketplace, and there was somebody that was selling a lot of patterns for $10. And I could see a couple of things peeking through, like she kind of had them scattered all around, like I kind of see a couple of things peeking through that were very interesting, and I was like, $10 and a 20-minute car ride, yes. So I bought them. And there was definitely some goodies in there. I'm not going to show you all of them. Like this Just Nan, this little cardinal box, Birds of a Feather, 2 chatelaines, which have definitely been stitched. There's some notes. There's like an indigo rose. I mean, it came in this. Like you can still see there's like a ton of stuff in here. So I'm hoping that you guys will like some of this stuff, because I believe these will be many giveaways in the future. But the thing that had really caught my eye was that I could see tops of these. And this is the With Thy Needle Birds of a Feather mystery sampler. So it had 1, and then it had 2 copies of 2, but it didn't have 3. So I was like, okay. I'm not sure what to do with the second copy of 2. I don't know what to do with that. Can't really give it away unless you have at least a 3rd one. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna Google it, see what happens, see what comes up. And I found somebody selling part 3 for just plain old, you know, retail. What it was, I'll tell you, it was $6.50 for part 3. And I got that from AnitaLittleStitches.com. I believe I've heard Leah, Aviatrix Stitcher, talk about her. She does have a $25 minimum to order from her. I don't know if that's how she justifies doing the shipping or the work. I don't know what that is. But I was able to get the 3rd part. So that is super exciting. I'm very excited to stitch that. So she also had a listing in the same section, and it says, With Thy Needle and Thread Mystery Sampler Weeks Dye Works Fabric 35 count. And, excuse me, but it had dimensions that didn't make sense. Like, it wasn't the right dimensions for the sampler, but it also, you know, it wasn't very expensive. The dimensions said, what, 8 inches by 35 inches. I was like, that can't be right, right? But if it is right, I'm going to go ahead and order it, and if it is right, I know exactly what I will use that piece for. So it was right. That is the size that it was. There it is. And this is perfect, absolutely perfect for the Celtic Alpha by Courtney Collection. That long, skinny alphabet. So that worked out perfect. I took a risk, and I'm super happy with how that came out. I just have to pick floss for that, and that'll be all kitted up and ready to go. Because there was a $25 minimum, I did grab a couple other things to hit that mark. 2 Carrie's Creation Silk, one in Valley Green, one in Cajun Coffee. Those are really pretty. I've never tried these silks before, so I wanted to try that out. And I also picked up Blackbird Designs Bountiful Harvest, which looks like this. Almost done. I told you there was a lot. So next I had an order in with 123 Stitch. Melanie Watkins, Soulful Planner Stitcher. I hope I didn't mangle that. She showed this on her Instagram, and I was like, great, stop, go get it now. And that is Charity for All by Erica Michaels. It's like this. And it is a portion of the second inaugural address that Abraham Lincoln gave on March the 4th, 1865. So, you know, if I have the Gettysburg Address on my wall, I most certainly would love to have this on my wall as well. So I got that. I also picked up Sailing Home by Blackbird. It's a boy's birth sampler. Not that there will be any births in this house anytime soon. At all. One time, done. And then I also picked up another Queenstown sampler, Sarah Haynes, Baltimore, Maryland, 1848. I want all of the Queenstown yards. I really, really do. This is gorgeous. Look at that. That house. I forget what stitch this is. This is not all cross-stitched. This is a different stitch. But I really liked it for this, which they call a reclining but very alert stag. I love it. I think that's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I got one thing from Bush Mountain Stitchery on Facebook. This is from Collection Tralala, and this is Bonhomme de Neige, and this is the autumn and winter patterns. Like I said before, I might try to do some Christmas things to help with that time of year for me, and these are 2 little flippin' adorable snow ladies. Look at that. I love the fall one. The squirrel. Ugh. I ordered 2 things off of Bendy Stitchy's D-Stash. This was, I think, in December as well. And those 2 things, one is Pineberry Lane, Beloved Companion Memorial Sampler. This is a memorial sampler that you would stitch if one of your pets were to pass on, which all of our pets pass on. And I also picked up Eliza Pennant's 1726 from Plum Street. Little gravestone. It says, "The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." At rest. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is what I picked up at my stitch group this past month. There was a lot of ladies there, and you can tell everybody had gone through their stuff. Like, it's like 3 tables together, 3 big folding tables together, which is normally where we put the things that we want to, you know, give to each other, and then we have a, you know, part of it where we put all of our finishes, or things that we want to share. And it was packed. I've never seen it like this. I brought, like, when I cleaned out all my stuff, I brought everything that I had already stitched or knew I was not going to stitch. I brought all of it. I came home with some of it because I wanted to, you know, I can't leave it there. But that was pretty awesome. Last month at the stitch group, one of the ladies brought in the biggest bag of bobbinated DMC I've seen. It was like this giant bag, and one of the other ladies took it home and organized it for all of us. and then printed us out lists of all of the DMC, so that while we're there, if we need to get up a project or you run low on something, we have like we have a communal DMC collection that we can all utilize. So she printed those up for us. I showed you my attention hoop. I also got a slightly bigger one. I got 2 hoops for finishing. How cute those are. This came from Etsy shop, Happy Hoopla Hoops on Etsy. Very pretty. I picked up, the pictures come loose from the pattern. Let's see if I can turn this. Chessie and Me, Garden Blooms. I love that cat. I picked up Fancy Blacket, Tea for 2. So cute. And I picked up, so somebody was getting rid of a bunch of their like kits that they had from like different classes that they had taken that they weren't going to finish or weren't interested in anymore. And this was one I picked up so I could practice some specialty stitches. It's called the Bouquet Sampler Accent by Periwinkle Promises, which, like, this is not, you know, typically my style, but I wanted to, you know, practice. And the lady had actually already given it a little bit of a start. Like that. Backing, beads, and all the silks that go with it. And then the last thing, we got through this. The last thing was Summer House Stitch Works Indian Summer. Which I love the colors. It came with this little sun charm. Very nice. So thank you guys if you stuck through that. That was a lot, and I'm, you know, feeling some kind of way about it, but I want to do a little giveaway. So like I said, again and again, apparently, when I cleaned everything out, everything that I had already stitched or I knew I wasn't going to stitch, I put to the side. And I've got a couple things that I've got earmarked for certain people, but I want to spread some of the love because I think you guys are great. I know I'm absolutely abysmal at responding to comments, not just here, on Instagram too. I love them, but it sometimes like makes me anxious, like, oh, can I say the right thing? I don't. Anyways, I have 2 things that I want to give away today. The first thing is this cross stitch gold. Let's say when it's from, February 2013. And I thought some of you might like this because there's this beautiful Joan Elliott here. There's a lot of Doreen Jones in here. Lots of Christmas ornaments. That snowman. This little Christmas sampler. That's a nice hefty magazine. So this is number 1. If you would like to win this, please say I would, something about a magazine. Something about the magazine. That'll be fine. And the second thing that I want to give away is in honor of yesterday being Valentine's Day. This is Threadwork Primitives Wandering Heart. It says bind my wandering heart to thee. I don't know if that's religious, like a religious saying. I just think that it's pretty. And I've stitched this. It's actually what it says right here. Wait, you see this framing job? Just stuffed it in there. Here's mine. I think I just picked all my own colors. And this was the first project that I did over 1. This was a 28 count. I think it's a Lugana from Ship's Manor. It was pink, and so I coffee and tea dyed it. And that's how it turned out. And it sits right here. So if this is something you're interested in, just say something about a heart. Normal giveaway rules apply. Please be 18. I really like it if you subscribe or are a subscriber. Don't say giveaway or anything of the sort. Thank you very much. And thank you all for spending time with me today. I appreciate it way more than you know. If you would like to visit with me on Instagram, I am Wide-Eyed Stitching Child there. I hope everybody again has been well and that you all have a great day and are staying warm or staying cool depending on where you are in this world. And then you're happy. Thanks you all. Love you. Bye.